What a weekend it was. 5-0 weekend for the Sooners. Exactly what the doctor ordered. They come away with some confidence. A lot of players that we haven't seen up to this point got some playing time. A great weather weekend at Love's Field was met with a great overall performance by the number one ranked Oklahoma softball team. And let's kind of break it down and maybe even look forward in some spots as well. Let's start with the Sunday game. Oklahoma wins 17-1 over Kansas City. They did exactly what they needed to do. No disrespect to Kansas City, but that's going to be one of the weaker teams that you face all year long. And good on Oklahoma for taking care of business like they should. Love the effort early on. Effort, attitude. I wanted to see that. Patty wanted to see that. Ella Parker scores on a pass ball from second base in the very first inning. That set the tone, I thought. 5 innings in the first inning. Isabella Emerling has a grand slam. And then how about maybe the feel-good story of the entire weekend? Hannah Kaur returns. Hannah Kaur was back, and she had a base hit RBI in this game. Katie McKay got in late at third base. Just a dominant Sunday over Kansas City. You did exactly what you needed to do. You got certain players some at-bats there. Maya Bland got back in the game today. Overall, a successful day where you left no doubt whatsoever, and you win all 5 games. You don't play 7 innings in any of those 5 games, and in a couple of these games, you got a 5-inning run rule, and you didn't even have to bat in the bottom of the 5th inning. That was the case today. Multiple pitchers got in. I thought pitched well. Audrey Lowry did give up the solo home run, but outside of that, the pitchers were good. You did what you needed to do against Kansas City. And I know there's people out there clowning on OU's schedule, and they'll clown on the fact that they played Kansas City. Well, this team, the players on this team, did not create the schedule. They're just playing the teams in front of them. So if nothing else, against an opponent that is not SEC caliber, give them credit for taking care of business, winning 17-1 in a fashion that they should. Quickly, be sure and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications. Like the video, helps me out quite a bit. Subscribe to the channel for a whole lot of OU softball. Let's get to some weekend takeaways. We'll be interested to see what all you have to say in the comments, what your thoughts overall. I'm very pleased, very happy with what we saw this weekend, because Patty used these words heading into the weekend for this team: fire, bow up, toughness, excitement, clutchness. Like, she wanted to see some attitude this weekend. I wanted to see some attitude. You wanted to see some attitude from this team. And no, clearly, that's not the best competition that OU is going to face this year. And the competition that they will face is really about to get ramped up starting a week from now. But you know what? They came out fast, and they came out aggressive, and they continue to build on leads. They got runs playing small ball. They got runs with the long ball. They kind of did it all, really. And the pitching, I thought, was very good. The hitting was really kind of the main storyline again, I thought, going into this weekend. And that was one of their best, if not their best, offensive performances of the entire year. Again, not great opponents, but they did what good teams should do against opponents like that. They jumped out early in the first inning. You felt like just about in every single game, the game was over after just 6 outs played. And they didn't just stop there. They continued to pile on runs, and they didn't play a game this entire weekend that went to 7 innings. So it doesn't mean that this team has it all figured out now and they're about to go and just destroy and dominate everyone. No, like, they're going to continue to face adversity. That's okay. Let them learn from it. But if you just want to look at just this weekend for what it was, I thought it was a very good weekend, and you could argue overall that this was their best performance just kind of overall that we've seen. And that's good at this point in the year where you feel like, hey, maybe you're playing your best softball going into the SEC slate against a good South Carolina team coming in next week. But a lot of different contributions, from a lot of different players. I mean, so many players hit home runs. So many players had very quality at-bats this weekend. So many players, really every pitcher that you've had gave you quality innings. So, and one thing that I thought was very important is some players that you kind of need to get going, especially offensively. Feels like that either happened, is happening, or this weekend was a great start for that. Best weekend that Nellie's had in an OU uniform, by far. Love the way that she played both defensively and offensively as well. Nellie was awesome, and she needed to have a weekend like that. Pickering was awesome again. You know, she had the MVP of the week last weekend. She's going to be up for it again this week as well. Cassidy Pickering feels like she's really turned a corner this year after her slow start, playing some very good softball. Gabby Garcia was great. Multiple home runs throughout the week. Maya Bland hit her first career home run. Isabella Emmerling hit a grand slam on Sunday. So you wanted to see more of a complete approach from the offense, and that's what you got through the entirety of this weekend. Yes, Ella Parker's really good. Yes, Abby Dayton is fantastic. Yes, Sid Sanders continues to have a great start to the season. But when you get contributions like that from everyone in the order, that's when this team is really, really tough. We saw that this weekend. My weekend takeaways are just a really, really nice weekend overall, and can't wait to see what they do here moving forward. And that's a perfect segue to talk about the offense, which I thought was just fantastic. And it was fantastic from kind of all walks of what this team is. It was fantastic by the true freshmen. It was fantastic from the transfer portal players. And it was fantastic at players that have been in this program and you expected to contribute at a very high level this weekend. I mean, you had like 15 home runs this weekend amongst 9 different players. Like, how about the true freshmen? Tia Malloy hit multiple home runs. Gabby Garcia hit multiple home runs. You're getting a lot of production from those youngsters offensively, and you thought that maybe their biggest contributions early would be on the defensive side of things, and that has certainly happened. But now you're starting to see these freshmen who are future stars in this program really start to get comfortable offensively. And I think that that's going to pay huge dividends down the road once we get to our biggest games this season. But it just felt like this offense. And am I shocked that they scored 9 runs against Marshall, 9 runs against Kansas, 11 runs against Marshall on Saturday night, and scored all the runs that they did against Kansas City on Sunday? Like, I'm not surprised with the total amount of runs they scored in just 25 innings. What I'm happy about is that it felt like this team made every single at-bat count. It wasn't, hey, we scored 4 in the first inning, and then now we're going to kind of sit back. Like, we may add 1 in the second, or 3 in the fourth, or whatever. Like, we'll find our way to a run rule. Like, no, whatever they did, that wasn't necessarily good enough, and they still came to the plate inning in, at-bat, every single at-bat, and they really made it count. And I think that that's why you saw so many different players have big contributions at the plate. Your big-time hitters like Sid Sanders. Of course she's great. Cassidy Pickering. Of course she was great. But then there's Isabella Emmerling hitting the grand slam. There's Gabby Garcia right behind her hitting back-to-back jacks on Sunday. She had 3. It was just a complete team approach offensively to the level that we've been waiting on. And that's only going to give this team a lot of confidence moving forward. I've always been excited about the offense, but with a very big challenge coming in, starting with SEC play next weekend, I don't expect them to do offensively next weekend what they did this weekend, but I think that what happened at Love's Field is a very nice start of this offense gaining and having its most confidence of the year and really starting to move forward with its best effort because they played small ball. They had the long ball. I thought they did a great job of stealing bases and being aggressive. They just had a little attitude offensively this weekend. They played a lot more free than they did on Monday. That overall, that was just massive improvement from what we saw Monday afternoon against Bowling Green, and that's what you're looking for. And I said it in a video earlier today, but I'll say it. Give the 2025 team, this year's team, a lot of credit. Once you feel like that ain't good enough or they could be a lot better, they always come back strong. So offensively, not their best effort on Monday. They came back this weekend and they flexed, and that was very good to see, and that's very promising here as we move forward. Well, surprise, surprise, the pitching continues to be excellent. It continues to be the strength of the team. And it feels like to me it's not going to be as big of a storyline as it should just because the offense was so good, and I feel like that's the bigger talking point. But give the pitching its credit because it has another weekend, a doubleheader on Friday, a doubleheader on Saturday, a single game on Sunday, where they came out, attacked the strike zone, got hitters out, didn't mess around. Your 1-2 duo of Isabella Smith and Sam Landry were good once again. Didn't have their best stuff on Friday, but not having their best stuff, what did that mean? Well, it meant that they still got the win, both of them, and they only gave up 1 run in each of the games that they started. So if that's not their best, then that's fine. I'll take that every single time. A performance, a complete game where you only give up 1 run. So Smith and Landry continue to be excellent, But I thought maybe the biggest storyline pitching-wise was Audrey Lowry. She needed a big start. She needed it for her. She needed it for her confidence. And she got that on Saturday night. Got back in the circle and delivered an absolute gem. And maybe she was a little bit better on Monday than what the numbers shown, but that's the first real adversity that Audrey Lowry, in a negative way, has been put in. So I was very interested. She's been a very bright spot so far this year, but how does she bounce back after a start where clearly that wasn't her best? And she bounced back in just an excellent way. Really proud of her for coming back the way that she did. But everybody was good. Kirsten Deal was good on Saturday as well. I mentioned Audrey Lowry. I mentioned Smith. I mentioned Landry. Peyton Monticelli came in and gave you some nice relief innings as well. This pitching staff has really settled in, and man, do they get after hitters. Do they get after hitters? They don't allow free passes. You got to think that they've got a lot of confidence in the circle right now with how their defense plays behind them. But this pitching just continues to be the strength of this team. Bigger tests are on their way, but I feel like this pitching staff is in a very, very good spot here, kind of as we don't wrap up the non-conference portion of the schedule, but as we enter into SEC play. Overall grade, interested to see what you guys have as an overall grade this weekend. Drop those in the comments. I got an A. I got a solid A, just a good weekend, a great response from Monday that looked like a much better team than what we saw Monday afternoon at Love's Field. That looks like a team that came in with a different mentality, right? That looked like a team that just overall is a better softball team than what we saw the previous weekend. And that continues to be the case. They continue to improve and improve and improve. And I still don't think that we've seen this team's best softball. And I'm really excited to see what that looks like. That's pretty good. Saturday was an excellent day for this team. Kansas City, not a great opponent, but give them credit for coming out and taking care of them early. I thought even Friday was a very good day as well. But from Friday to Saturday, you really saw some progress just kind of overall as a team. I'm not giving it an A+. There's always room for improvement, right? But as a grade, it's a solid A. Solid A, you take it. No complaints whatsoever. Showed a lot of improvement, and the excitement level for this team at 19-0 continues to be very high. MVP of the week. I don't think it's as easy as I thought it was going to be entering Sunday morning. I thought, it's Cassidy Pickering. It's not much question. I thought it was going to be Nelly this week, and there's been at times throughout the weekend where that looked like it was in pretty good shape. But here's the thing. I think we got a debate on our hands. Nelly has a case, yes. Gabby Garcia has a heck of a case, hitting 3 home runs on the weekend. Of course, Cassidy Pickering had 3 home runs as well. I'm going to go with Pickering. I almost picked Gabby Garcia, but the level that Cassidy Pickering's hitting right now, she's just on an absolute tear. Her average has risen significantly over the course of the past couple of weekends. Happy for her. It's a big deal for this offense. Cassidy Pickering is my MVP of the week, but it's a very, very good thing. It's as close as it is, and I got Pickering, but you guys might have different players. Maybe you think Audrey Lowry and her start was excellent. Maybe you like Nelly and the weekend that she had. It's a good weekend. I just gave it an A, but it's a very, very good sign when you've got multiple players that you can't just make an argument for. You can make a really strong argument as to why they were the MVP of the week. Okay, so a question to ponder. How good is OU? Or really, will they win another national championship? Obviously, will they win a national championship? We've got to wait a while to exactly see that. But how good is OU? Well, it's tough to nail that down right now until we really get into the thick of SEC play and see them against South Carolina, see them go to Arkansas, see them play Tennessee, see them play against the best of the best and see how they stack up. But the evidence that we have through 19 games and the opponents that they face and, watching other college softball programs across the country, knowing what this program is, the talent level, just kind of everything. How good is OU? I think they're good. Are they special? Are they elites? Obviously, we'll find that out in due time. But really, the answer to the question of can this team win a national championship? Yeah, I think that this team can win a national championship. I do think, and again, we'll get a better idea over the course of the next few weeks, but I certainly think that they're in that top-tier group of teams this year. Are they overall more talented than Texas? Are they overall more talented than a Florida or a UCLA? Time will tell, of course. But I do think that as this team continues to progress, as we see more of a complete effort from the offense, as we see Ella Parker dominate, Sam Landry dominate, Isabella Smith dominate, I think that they've got a pitching staff that is good enough to win a national championship. I think defensively they are good enough to win a national championship. I think they do the intangible things, base running and just some other things that's good enough to win a national championship. The biggest question I have right now is, do they have the offense to win a title? Do they have the offense to face the best pitchers in all of college softball when it matters most and manufacture enough runs? Obviously, I think Ella Parker's great and a lot of these other hitters as well. But after 19 games, with still a long ways to go, there's a lot of things that I do think are good enough to win another national championship. The pressure is incredible. Of course, it's not going to be easy. But my biggest question right now, and really the main question to how good is OU, depends on the offense. If the offense that we saw from this weekend only continues to get better, and that's more of a regular thing, then the question of can OU win a national championship, the answer goes to, well, they may be the front runner. The offense coming around, I think, is the biggest key right now. And this team not just being in the conversation, but maybe being the front runner to win the title once again. But this, once again, very talented, very, very good team. They just got to focus on getting better week in and week out. All right, let's take a peek ahead as to what's to come. Big weekend at Love's Field. Coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, undefeated South Carolina 19-0 comes to town. The last two undefeated softball teams will be playing at Love's Field as the Sooners will have their first ever SEC series. South Carolina's got to be the biggest surprise of the entire league right now. And I did not expect this. Of course, they've got a lot of their head coach from Charlotte, a lot of players from Charlotte. Quincy Lilio is over there as well. But this is a very good softball team. And if you had doubts just to how good that South Carolina is, they went to number 8 Duke and swept the Blue Devils in Durham. Beat them, 14-7 in Game 1, 4-2 in Game 2, 12-7 in Game 3. Surprise of the SEC thus far, and we'll get a better idea of South Carolina and Norman, but they certainly look like right now, just based on what we've seen, that they might even contend for an SEC championship this year. That's how good they are. Of course, Quincy Lilio's been great, 569 average with 18 RBIs, just 1 strikeout in 58 at-bats. Ariana Rhodey, who was very good last year, a 429 hitter. Jory Hurd, their best pitcher, has a 10-0 record, a .97 ERA. This is going to be a test. This is going to be a tough test, and I thought before the year this would be one of OU's more favorable matchups that they would have in the SEC this year. I don't think that anymore. I don't think that anymore. And yes, this will be South Carolina's toughest test to date. I think going to Norman is more difficult than going to a top 8 Duke team. I think the atmosphere at Love's Field is going to be insane. I think it was always going to be insane, and now it's going to be cranked up a little bit that the last 2 undefeated teams in softball are playing this weekend. So just a peek ahead at South Carolina. They've got some really good hitters, are on a tear right now, including former Sooner Quincy Lilio. Jory Hurd, you're going to see her on Friday, I would imagine. Might even see her on Sunday. You see her a couple of times. But just overall, they have the offensive depth that you really like, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And you got to think after going to Duke and beating them the way that they did, they're going to have confidence that they can come into Norman and take this series. So it's just a bit of a peek ahead, and we'll have more of a preview as the week goes on. South Carolina's good. They're for real, and they can really make a statement if they come to Norman and take that series and have a great showing. So got to see more great pitching from Oklahoma, got to see more great hitting, but this is where the tough test starts. It's not in a couple of weeks against Arkansas or at Missouri or Tennessee. It starts now. And I think you could argue that this SEC slate will be the most difficult conference slate that OU's ever seen before, but at the same time, an early week feel, I think this team's going to be ready. Every time they're challenged, they come back and they have a great showing, so I think Oklahoma will be ready. Again, like the video if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you in the comments. A lot of content coming out as we get ready for the South Carolina series. Hope you enjoy your Sunday. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.